Today we will talk about magazine of equity and will be focused on magazine Act in personam.
So basically, Nasru, what is magazine?
Magazine of equity are legal maxims that serve as a set of general principles of rules which are said to govern the way in which equity operates.
So it's actually a principle.
Yes.
Okay. So actually, who developed equity before this?
Equity actually they were developed by the English Court of Chancery and other court that administer equity jurisdiction in England.
Oh, so it came from England.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're gonna talk about Equity Act in personam. So it is one of the maxim of equity. So what can you explain more? What is Act in personam?
Okay, I will tell you a little about Equity Act in personam. Equity Act in personam is the maxim that show the equitable rights affect the person, as opposed to legal right, which are said to be rights in rem. The courts of equity operate primarily in personam, and binding the consent of person.
So it's actually attached to person instead of the material itself.
Yes, it's in the person.
Oh, so okay, I understand now. So so for further explanation, we're gonna pass it to over our crew, Nurul and Afika, for more explanation.
Hi, I'm Ilana Afika from TV Equity. So today I'm going to interview several people about the topic Act in personam. So today I'm going to interview Sakina, a lawyer from Sakina & Co. for jurisdiction over property abroad, one of a subtopic under Equity Act in personam. Hi.
Hello, Miss. Welcome to my firm. Have a seat.
Okay, thank you.
So, I'm going to talk about the jurisdiction of a property abroad. The principle that we have in this issue is the jurisdiction is primarily over the defendant personally. The jurisdiction is grounded not upon any pretension to the exercise of judicial and administrative rights abroad, but on the circumstances of the person of the party on whom this order is being made within the power of the court. The application are the court can give judgment on a variety of matters affecting land outside England. Where there is an English contract for a mortgage of land outside England, the English equitable rule against clogging, the equity of redemption will be enforced against a contracting party. So, the jurisdiction excluded if an action involves merely a question of title to land outside the jurisdiction. The claimant has no equity which he could have enforced against the defendant. Had land been English, the courts will not entertain the action. The question of title can be better dealt with by the courts of the country in which the land is situated. Okay, thank you.
So that's all from Sakina, a lawyer from Sakina & Co. for jurisdiction over property abroad. Thank you, Miss.
Okay, welcome. I hope my information will help to the youth and society as well. Thank you.
Hi, so we're going to interview a student and a lecturer from UNIZA about Act in personam. So let's. Hello, Miss, Mr. Am I disturbing you?
No.
Oh, okay. My name is Ileana. I'm from TV Equity.
Hi.
Okay, so I've been informed that you are a law lecturer in UNIZA, right?
Yeah.
So you must be knowledgeable about equity.
Sort of.
Okay, so I have to interview you about the one of the maxim, Act in personam. So can you please explain briefly to me about Act in personam?
What a coincidence, because I'm consulting one of my students regarding these matters. Yeah, can you have a seat, because I have a slide for it.
Okay, thank you.
So, regarding the Equity Acts in personam, the most important thing that you need to know is about the limitations. it has three limitations. The first one is defendant has to be within the jurisdiction of the court. Second, the maxim cannot be relied on to grant an order in person when such will violate legal rules of another country. And the last limitation would be the maxim will not be relied upon to grant an order which will not be enforceable since equity does not act in vain. For the methods of enforcing the judgment in the acts of personam, a judgment of the common law court was enforced by one of the ordinary writs of execution by means of which the claimant was forcibly put into possession the property to which he was entitled under the judgment. But the Court of Chancery did not itself interfere with the defendant's property, but merely made an order against the defendant personally. If he failed to comply with it, punish him for his disobedience by attachment or committal for contempt. Court may make vesting order in various cases, or instead of making a vesting order, may appoint a person to execute the transfer. So, for the remaining parts of this topic, I would like to invite my student to share with you his own knowledge. Chuan?
So, for the relationship between the act in personam and injunction and specific performance will be discussed in here. So, an injunction is defined as an order of the court that directing a person or persons to refrain from doing an act or continuance of an act. For the prohibitory injunction is an injunction which forbids the doing or continuance of an act, which is illustrated in the case of Ashwara Engineering Sdn Bhd and Delta Structure Sdn Bhd. What happened in this case is that the plaintiff, the defendant, was granted the prohibitory injunction by the court to restrain the defendant from preventing the plaintiff from removing the materials which were still at defendant work site and was being used by the defendant's other contractor. And this prohibitory injunction was granted to the plaintiff. And furthermore, if we're moving on to specific performance, is a court order that directs a party to perform obligations under a contract entered by them. This is illustrated in the case of Summit Domain Sdn Bhd and another, where the High Court in Johor Bahru dismissed the plaintiff claim and granted the specific performance of the sale and purchase agreement, which is counterclaimed by the defendant upon the terms as directed by the court to the plaintiff and ordered the cost to be paid to the defendant, subject to the payment of an allocated fees. So, what can we say is that the equity acts in personam is inseparable from the mentioned equitable remedies that we discussed just now. So, this will be, the equitable remedies will be granted by the court when the monetary compensation is insufficient, provided that he or she is within the jurisdiction of the court regardless of the property of the person is situated outside the jurisdiction of the court. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Laika and Mr. Chen for knowledgeable sharing today. So I'm sorry for intervening in your class today.
No, it's okay.
So that's all from me. So I will pass back to Nasra Shahmi and Farah Adilah. Bye.
Thank you, Ilyana Afika, for getting us more information on this topic. So I believe that we have more knowledge than we have yesterday. So we're gonna wrap up for this topic.
We will meet you on the same time and same day but different topic. That's all from Equity TV.
Thank you.
Bye.